Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's a road show with Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We're here at Pavilion La Vista South, home of the Titans, ready for some basketball in about, 2 hours and 45 minutes for pregame. But the A7 District Final, Pius on the road against Papio South. Should be awesome. Excited to be a part of that call tonight with Jeff Smith. Prior to that, we have some hoops to talk. Plenty of Nebraska basketball reaction from last night's shocking, dare I say, shocking win over Ohio State on the road. Thoughts there, some spring football takes as Nebraska working through this first week. Pleasure to have you along on Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and we're high above the Titans gym. And big thanks to Mr. Van Akron for letting us up here. We're kind of just to the east of the catwalk. I am buckled in Harry Carey style
you've
up
been,
here.
You've been saying a lot.
And it's already taped off. Hold on. It's taped off for the student section for Pius. And then the Titans student section is called the Black Hole. So in contrast to that, Pius is said we're wearing all white. We're going with the road whites. So Pius student section will be full force. They threw me up here because, man, it's going to be elbow to elbow, Elijah. And great time of year March is upon us, and the madness started last night with the Buckeyes and the Huskers. What was that?
See, your guess is as good as mine. I was calling the District A3 Girls Championship game. I looked down.
Where has that been? Is the better question.
Well, I'm sitting there at the game, and we get a scoreboard update from Connor at halftime. Nebraska's up at half, and I go, what's going on? So I actually, by the end of the game, had pulled it up on my phone and got to watch about the last 10 minutes of the Husker game. And just the offense looked like it was flowing. The defense gave effort. There wasn't too many dumb turnovers. It looked like a well-coached basketball team for once. But before we get too off topic here, while we're on the live stream, you've been saying a lot before the show how high up you are. Can you flip the camera around and just show everyone on the live stream how high you are, like, actually up there? I mean, I see the ceiling.
There's the ceiling. There's the ceiling as we get the old Blair Witch Project going.
Oh, yeah, you're up there. You're in the nosebleeds.
So I'm all right. But it reminded me of growing up a little bit because the way to get up here is this scary-looking red door that's, 75 inches thick, and a couple of special keys to unlock it, and then you go through kind of a concrete barrier area. And it reminded me of the West Stadium at Memorial Stadium pre-skybox expansion, pre-press box expansion. And what that was growing up, we sat on the west balcony is where my dad had his seats. All four of us got to go, and you pretty much saw the 1924 of the old Memorial Stadium. And you didn't have to quite army crawl, but you did need to kind of bunch a little bit through the turnstiles, and it was quite a winder, and you needed to go at halftime or before the game. That's all I'm going to say. But no, it's awesome. We're up here. This brings me back. Last time I was at Papio South doing a game, I think it was 2011 with Cranack for Cox TV. So Papio South, really good, really talented. Pius, what Coach Spitzka has this year. They're high level as always with their talent, and going to be a good ball game tonight. Southwest is at Gretna down the road for a chance to go to state, and that'll be an intense ball game. And, of course, Motzi has Northeast tonight. Forgive me, is Northeast taking on, is it Millard North or is it Creighton Prep? It's one of the two. I think it's Prep. I think they get Prep again. So he's up at the Birdcage.
Let me check my schedule on this one.
You're good, but we'll get into some Husker basketball.
Creighton Prep, yes.
Yeah, it's at prep. Motzi's got a spot reserved at the birdcage. But Nebraska basketball on our mind as... Listen, Nebraska played Ohio State well in Lincoln. That thing went to overtime. They were, 6 points in under a minute. They were up in that game. Ohio State made plays, forced overtime, and then won in overtime. But really, Nebraska's put 3 good games together, if we want to just be honest about it. The Iowa game, the win at Penn State, and then this one, a second consecutive win for Coach Hoiberg. And here's the thought on it. One, we know the team's had talent, okay? We know the team has had talent. The team has just refused to play together or listen to coaching. Maybe the coaching stepped up. Maybe there's been a big exhale because of Trev's announcement Thursday that Fred's back. I don't know. I just know that this team, for a stretch last night, kind of got out of sorts and got down by about 7 points because they weren't sharing the ball as well. And the difference is Penn State really did a horrible job of defending Nebraska and switching. Okay, they just Nebraska did what they wanted, got great looks, got extra passes, and Penn State had no answer defensively. Well, Ohio State, after about the 15-minute mark, did some more switching, and then Nebraska got stagnant on offense. And Wiltshire came in, man, and I know Bryce McGowan's was incredible last night, was super efficient again, had 26 points. And I know Verge was amazing with the 11 assists and 13 points and then just rocking people to the rim with his crossover. That was a lot of fun to watch if you're a Nebraska basketball fan. But Wiltshire's 8-point little barrage was so key because it gave Nebraska the lead back. I was kind of in and out of watching it. I had the grill going, and I had an earbud in, and my wife's sitting there watching the ball game on the couch going, what the hell is this? Like, hey, they have the ability. They have the capability. Are they going to stick with it, though? And they did. And the final 3.5, 4 minutes was tough offensively for Nebraska. It was also tough for Nebraska rebounding the ball. They've done a pretty good job of rebounding all night, and then all of a sudden the levee broke, and here's second and third chance shots on possessions for Ohio State. Nebraska still wasn't great down the stretch with field goals, but they got to the free throw line going 5 for 6. A guy we all respect and love and really was a part of our fandom as kids growing up, Kemp Pavelka. He's my favorite, man. I love the guy and had a chance to work for him, an opportunity to work with him early in my career, and I ended up taking a different position. But long and short, he's always been great, and to hear the passion back in his voice was incredible. And you're happy for him and Mule because, man, the players and the coaches have been through the ringer with this season. And then there's the folks in our industry that have been on, seasons where it's been a clunker, to put it radio correctly, PR-wise. and you're running out there every night doing a ball game, and you're trying to be positive about it, and then they get smoked, or they don't look like they care, or whatever. So Nebraska has shown some heart, some grit, some toughness, all the things that Trev kind of laid out what they haven't done. They flipped it around, and good for Nebraska, good for Hoiberg. 2 in a row. Let's see if they make it 3 in a row in Wisconsin. Chucky Hepburn went legend last night with that game-winning 3. He called glass. You just couldn't hear it. And you have a co-championship with Wisconsin. Big order. But, what's funny is immediately you jump on Twitter after the game, and Nebraska basketball fan, the most optimistic who would not have bet your money, my money, Aunt Clara's money to win or maybe even cover last night, is like, all right, they're gonna run through the Big Ten tournament and go dancing. How, right? That's the pipe dream, right? Check the blood alcohol level on that take. But hey, you've won 2 in a row. Maybe you get a third against Wisconsin and you stay hot in Indy. That would be totally Nebraska, right? You go 15-21. and you're a 16 seed.
No. What would be Nebraska is if they run through the Big Ten tournament and then lose in like heartbreaking fashion the championship game. That would be Nebraska right there.
That would, it is a straight up Dumb and Dumber where you totally redeem yourself, right? You get you trade the shaggin' wagon for the little moped. But let's hear from Fred Hoiberg as great ball game for Nebraska basketball. Coming up, Mike Babcock's 10 minutes away. We'll talk some Husker ball with him. Mike Schuhart. Shuey is a guy that wants to be the biggest Nebraska basketball fan, but this season has taken years off Shuey's life potentially. But the last couple of games, Shuey's been very generous to Nebraska basketball. Shuey's a fair guy. Andy Markowski with us in hour 2. We'll talk to the proud papa, the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I know Pius is state basketball bound for the girls as well, and we'll get his take on Husker hoops. And then Jeff Smith, the coach and Hall of Famer, get his take on some of the district play and also Nebraska basketball. Longtime assistant for Danny Nee at Jock Doc will wind you down. Let me get you the numbers. I meant to do that earlier before I was showing you how high up I was, which is okay. The fall would hurt, but I've got a good sight line, I guess is what I'm telling you. 466-3776 or 800-825-5865. Those are the numbers. Watch us, can comment or give us some input. Also, we're streaming live on StreamYard, ESPN Lincoln's Facebook, since it's a road show, and also on ESPN Lincoln's Twitter handle. But Fred, last night on how the win actually happened, how'd they get it done?
The key for us was to try and keep them out of transition. They really exposed us in that area the first time we played, and we wanted to get back and try to force them to score into the half court, which they did early. They got into a good rhythm, but we had a really good stretch from about the 8-minute mark all the way through about the 17-minute mark of the second half. And I think a big key, a guy that didn't play in the last time we played a while ago is Trey McGowan's. I mean, you see the importance and you see what he means to our team with being able to go out and defend the best wings in this league and do it one-on-one. And, Branham has been as hot as any player in this league. And, I thought Trey at least really made him work for everything that he got. And then offensively, I thought we had really good efficiency, especially in the first half. Bryce continues to get better every time he steps on the floor. Lonzo Verge had a really good first half after getting his shot packed into his head the first 3 possessions. But then he had, 9 assists and 1 turnover, set a record for most assists in a half. And, then we went at matchups in the second half and just tried to get the proper spacing and then attack. Got a little, dicey there at the end, but, our guys made enough plays. We got Derek back in there to clean up the glass. And that was another key. In the first half they had 10 offensive rebounds. In the second half they had 4. And it all seemed like they were in the last 2 minutes. So we really did a good job cleaning up the glass. And those were the 2 keys for us coming into this, were transition and rebounding.
Nebraska did a great job of pace and, again, until the final 3 minutes, did a wonderful job in the second half with the defensive glass. Another thought here from Coach Hoiberg here on the offensive success, cut 4 here, how they found it. They've looked more unselfish here the last 3 games. They've done a better job of really getting in some rhythm with passes, and guys can shoot when they're open, and that extra pass has allowed some open opportunities. I think Latz played a lot better. Wilcher's played good ball. Verge is really looking to create. I thought a big play was Verge on the push and then finding Wilcher for his first 3 to get that 8-0 run going, as Wilcher was the trailer, where you can just kind of bounce it back to him and he can step in. But here's Fred on the offensive success.
CJ was phenomenal in that first half for us as well, getting us going. Derek had a couple nice finishes on some pocket, and then Ohio State, which they've been doing a lot of, us went to a switch, and just tried again to get the proper spacing and get the right matchup. But I thought we ran when it was there. We were very opportunistic in our running, and we didn't want to get into a up and down battle on the road. And we've been much better with our selection on when we're attacking in transition, which we had some really good ones, and then when to pull it back and execute. And again, this young fella here has just continued to improve and continue to impress, and has a really bright future ahead of him.
Well, McGowan's was two Hoibergs left in the post game, and Bryce, man, is taking, and he took really good shots again and hit some key threes. And what's fun to watch about him, Elijah, is his length and his first step, his explosiveness. You see the traits of the 5-star, and he's put the work in to get stronger. And you can just kind of bubble thought and dream what a second year would look like. You look at Iowa's stud, you look at Wisconsin stud, who came back for a sophomore year. They're going to be both top 7 picks. McGowan's will probably be a late first or early second round. It's time to call some friends of the program and say, hey, from an NIL standpoint, anyone feel like matching what a first-year contract would be as a rookie, as a second-round pick or a late first-round guy to keep him around? That's my only suggestion, because he's a guy that is going to get drafted high based on potential, and we've seen the work he's put in this season, and his decision-making's continued to get better and better and better. The athleticism and talent's there. So overall, great night for Nebraska basketball. Can they do 3 in a row?
Yeah, and I'll say back to that McGowan's point, he's a lottery guy if he can develop a consistent three-point shot. That's what he's lacking right now. He's gotten better everywhere else. Still needs to be a little bit better defensively, but offensively, the main issue right now is just three-point shooting.
That's Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, Road Show. We are here at Papio South ahead of the Pius Papio South District Final. Mike Babcock next.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity Road Show Wednesday ahead of... I'm going to get that out of the way. Ahead of basketball, Pius on the road at Papio South. The A7 District Final comes up just in front of 7. Locally on ESPN Lincoln, myself, Jeff Smith, will have that. Elijah Herbel back at our ESPN studios. We welcome in historian, author, Hall of Famer Mike Babcock joins us. Babbers, you sit out in the sun a little bit today, enjoying the warmth?
Went out to baseball availability, and I was the only one that wore long sleeves. That shows you where I'm at.
Well.
But it was nice. Yeah,
that's all right.
It's really nice. Good weather.
Well, good for you, keeping the UV rays away, bud. I get it. Totally get it.
That's it. It was all a planned deal.
So, let's start with baseball. What Coach Will have to say? And I know that there was a bit of a disagreement on the final out down in Arlington. Yeah,
and I think he has to sit out the first game of the doubleheader on Friday as a result. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it would have happened in the game, he probably would have been tossed from the game, but he would have been okay. But no, the attitude, he has the same attitude. There's no drop in that. And Max Anderson and Cody Frank. Cody Frank's going to get the opportunity to start Friday's first game. So a little bit of a shake-up there in the pitching staff. And I'm just throwing out little bits and pieces here, but you probably know this, but they have to take a bus down there. So it's a 12-hour bus ride. They're going to get down there, they're going to work out, and then the first game of the doubleheader on Friday is 11 a.m. So there's not much turnaround time, which is, there's a mental aspect to it, I'm sure. But Cody Frank seems excited to get the opportunity to start that first game, and then the second game about 3, and then you got another doubleheader on Saturday, the same structure. And then you're on the bus back to Lincoln, and then on Tuesday it's down to Kansas State, Manhattan. And then you come home and you get the first home series. And they got a lot of home games scheduled in the month of March. So I think they'll get it turned around. They've played some tough competition. TCU is ranked. Sam Houston's ranked, although Sam Houston got swept by Sacramento State this week, or last weekend. So that was a bit of a surprise there. But I think positive things are going to happen still with the baseball team, as was the positive with the basketball team.
Yeah, and let me ask you this about the old bus trip. Is that by choice, or is the Husker Airways busy?
No, I think because of the way they scheduled things initially. This wasn't on the schedule. I think there was some other game, some other series that they were supposed to play and didn't, or they restructured the schedule, and so they couldn't do a flight, so they have to take the bus.
Yeah, Mike, from what I gathered when I went and worked that Husker baseball scrimmage was they had SDSU, San Diego State, scheduled this weekend, yes. And then whenever San Diego State posted their schedule for the year, Nebraska wasn't included on it, and they reached out and said, what's up with that? And there was error in communication, so Nebraska had to throw this one together pretty last minute this weekend. Yeah,
you're right. It was San Diego State. That's right. And San Diego State had scheduled Nebraska, and I forget who else. And they're playing who else. So, it created a problem. But, like Will Bolt said, it's, these guys have aspirations to play professionally. When you're in the minor leagues, you're probably going to be on bus trips. So you're going to learn something there. And Max Anderson, he hoped to watch a movie on the bus and sleep. So there you go. And, interact with his teammates. It's an opportunity to interact with your teammates, and that that's positive. You have to try to take it and make a positive out of it. It is what it is, kind of a thing. To quote Bo Pelini.
Mike Babcock's with us at MD Babs on Twitter. Babber's going to go to football. Who did you spend time with at the round table?
Barrett Ruud and Donovan Raiola. And
what's the read you get from Donovan?
I thought he was pretty close to the vest. He wouldn't identify particular players at positions, but he's not locked into what happened last year. He's not locked into looking at a lot of film there. He's very much straight ahead focused, and it was cool as you said, his brother was there, so that was kind of a cool way to get things started, but. He's got a plan. He's very committed to that plan. One of the things I liked was that he's not just looking to have 5 guys and that's it. We're going to work with 5 guys. If he can find some guys, you're going to have the ability to rotate some linemen in there, and I think you have to be able to do that. Like I always, I'm old school Osborne. The way they always did it is what they wanted to do, at least minimal, was 5 starters, a swing guard, and a swing tackle, so that you could rotate guards and tackles. And if you got more than that opportunity, that's even better. But that's what you want to do.
Yeah, Mike, we know Greg Austin's philosophy was to have guys cross-train, guys that can play both guard and tackle, and maybe even some center, kind of be able to move them along the lines, go from left to right, go from guard to tackle, do all that. Do you get that Raiola is planning on doing the same thing with just how much is up in the air with the offensive line this year, or does he want guys to be training in individual spots?
I think it's more, like that. My sense is that, whoever emerges as a center, that's kind of where that person is going to focus on that. And, Scott Frost said a couple, the transfer offensive linemen, he's not going to have them working at guard and tackle. He's going to settle in. I think it sounded like maybe they were going to settle in at guard. I think that's the plan.
Mike, with Nebraska, and I'm interested to get your thoughts here. With Whipple, he's always been able to identify a best guy. And last year he had 2 options. One was, the top All-American quarterback, runner-up in the Heisman in Pickett. The other, Biletnikoff Award winner, incredible difference maker at wideout. Who do you think is early in the running here to be Nebraska's best? Do they have a dude? Do they have a guy that can be that on offense? They don't have anyone proven now, but do you feel good that a couple 3 options will emerge where the offense, the new staff, the new eyes will feel good, because I think what's missing has been consistency, and then you're obviously starting over at quarterback.
Yeah, I think. Well, I just think it's going to be interesting to watch the spring as it unfolds, and I, I like that he was direct, just like, who took the first snap. He said it, it was Casey Thompson took the first snap. That isn't going to be the starting quarterback when the season begins, but, he was up front about that. There's going to be a lot of competition at quarterback. There's going to be competition at wide receiver. There's going to be competition at running back. I mean, look at the running back room, the guys that they have. And I know Irvin's hurt, probably won't be doing a whole lot during the spring, but they've got a bunch of racks that can compete for that job. And, ultimately, somebody's going to have to emerge, I think. Obviously, at quarterback, somebody's going to have to emerge, I think, at running back. And then you've got the opportunity to rotate some receivers. You've got talent there that has to develop, but I think he has some things to work with. But you're right, that Pittsburgh, that lightning in a bottle kind of a thing with a quarterback and that receiver, whose name I forget, but he had like 17 touchdown receptions and 1,200 receiving yards or something like that. Is just remarkable. So that duo, that makes you look pretty good with an offense when you've got guys like that.
Jordan Addison is who we're thinking of, and he was really, really good. Well, and, the emergence. And, Mike, I'm interested to see how the competition between Palmer and Omar Manning creates a setup where both guys really blow up in a great way next fall. I'm not sure that Manning had as stiff a competition as Palmer will bring, and I'm thinking Mickey will be able to get, based on his history, some really good consistency out of that receiver room when we talk about Betts and Omar.
Oh yeah. I think that's true, and again, I think that you're going to have multiple guys that are going to have an opportunity in there, and they can compete and they can get on the field. That's going to happen, and I also think that you're going to have that at tight end. Vokalek's not going to be able to do some stuff in the spring, but he's obviously involved. He's going to help coach, I guess, is what when Frost said that, did he say that the guys that were injured and couldn't play were going to be out there helping coach?
Mike, you mentioned what Frost just said, so I want to get your take just on Scott Frost's press conference as a whole here quickly. We got about a minute left. Did you get a more relaxed feel from Scott Frost on Monday? I mean, I know from watching at home, watching on the stream, that it felt like a different vibe, and I understand it's spring and that makes things a little bit differently, but he just felt more relaxed, more comfortable in front of the media on Monday. Well,
I thought, he had a couple of jokes there that I thought were pretty funny. He kept it relaxed, and the accessibility, I think, is always a good thing. At Nebraska, you almost expect it, but I thought he seemed relaxed, and heaven knows there's plenty of pressure on him anyway. And then there's the additional pressure of, you brought in all these new offensive assistants. You've got a mesh there, and I think all things considered. I thought I did seem relaxed. He's committed. I hope they have some success, because I think he's the right guy for the job. I just, it's not easy in this day and age, that's for sure. It never is, but when you add in NIL and transfer portal and all these things, the internet, everything that exists now that didn't exist 25 years ago or whatever, you can see there's a lot of pressure, and I think that's partly why he decided to kind of step away and let somebody else handle the offense, and he was going to go both ways, look around and spend some time with the defense and the younger guys and whatever.
Babbers, good stuff. There's a great picture of Babbers in long sleeves on Steve Marek's Twitter handle. Check that out. Mike, we'll run you down next week, bud. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here, Hail Varsity Radio Road Show Wednesday here at Papio South, home of the Titans. The A7 Boys District Final tips off at 7. Jeff Smith on the call with me, and Bolt's looking to get back to PBA. They are a staple. The girls are going. We'll talk with Andy Markowski coming up here at 5, and then Coach before he makes his way up here to Papio South. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. We are efforting Shuey, Mike Schuhart, Wilderness Ridge Golf. Now, Shuey has told us that the course is closed. The putting green, however, probably not closed. It's 80 degrees. It's in Lincoln. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous in a lot of the state. And if I'm trying to get a phone call from Schmidt, if I'm in his shoes, I'm avoiding that thing and I'm soaking the sun up. So we'll see if, in fact, we get a hold of Mike Schuhart. We will continue to effort him. Elijah, what is the scoop, my friend? Shuey, yay or nay?
Still going to voicemail, so it's not a hang-up type thing. It's like a phone's in the pocket, probably busy putting somewhere, rather than he's
teaching.
I mean, there's been a couple times where I've sent a call out and it's just been 2 rings straight to voicemail. I go, that's not right. I know that that somebody made the effort to actively hang up on me. That's not the case here. I have a feeling he's just out enjoying the 80-degree weather.
How often did it take for you to learn that harsh reality of? It's too quick of a. That call ended. A lot of the junior high years.
I was going to say high school. When you start getting into the dating scene, for sure. Okay.
Well, we will have to hear more about the dating success stories of one of life. You didn't try growing that Caterpillar Magnum PI tribute in high school, did you?
Yeah, no. So the successes have been coming more recently than back in high school. The mustache had a big effect on that, I think. But it's funny. I actually despised calling people, talking on the phone, any of that until I got this job here. And now it's I'm calling 4 people a day, talking on the phone. I realized how much easier it is to just call people. I used to be a big texter.
No, texting's great until you got to communicate and look someone in the eye. But no, there you go. There's about 4 kids. Every high school had them. Even some in junior high, some of those junior high kids that may have gray-shirted back in the day. Oops, I just saw you in 8th grade. What happened? Dad's holding me back so I could make the freshman team. Whatever. But let's dive into some Nebraska football,
really
some
fast.
spring football.
Really fast. I just have a personal story. My former roommate, Tyler, I've known him since probably freshman year of high school, and since 8th grade, whenever he would go to high school sporting events, they'd charge him the adult price.
The adult price?
He had a full beard going, so he had to start bringing his student IDs because no one would ever believe him.
Tyler, there's a kid I lockered next to at Irving, junior high, and he was a big track and field guy. And I'm guessing he probably could have starred for the East German track and field team. I mean, dude was working on a comb over, and he had just started getting, the old basics down for driver's ed. But yeah, he was a grown up by the time he hit 9th grade. Mm-hmm. So Nebraska football, good story out of the Athletic here. They are doing their 5 teams to watch, and stop me if you've heard of these programs before. Yes, you have. But typically it's good to be mentioned with Florida, right? USC, Clemson, and Texas A&M. A&M, really good. They beat Bama, and they really rebounded down the stretch. I know they fell to LSU, and I know they fell to the Pirate. They were at 1.4-4, and then they had their game saver, their season saver, the kick heard all around Texas to beat Bama. Clemson was mortal last year at 10-3 and still finished ranked, despite too many freshmen on the offensive line and retooling a defense. SC's always underachieved, aside from the Pete and Reggie Bush Beach House years, and now you have Nebraska in this group mentioned with 5 teams ready for a jump. And listen, it's it's well documented, Nebraska, the statistical anomaly of last year with the total of points they scored. You're flipping things, and the bet here is that it can all kind of come together in just a year. In the portal era, you get a couple of key additions, and you don't get hammered by the attrition. And let's just call it what it is. You make changes on offense to upgrade. You make changes on offense to upgrade as an offensive coordinator. You get a guy like Whipple who's seen and done it all. And you get a vet that is going to be probably a little surly and a little snarly. This is his kitchen table. All right? So it's going to go that way. You get a tremendous talent in Mickey Joseph with his proven track record. You're on a little bit of a limb with Ariola, and that's just because he's not been in college for a while. If you're in the NFL and you're on an NFL coaching staff, you're a good coach. So I don't doubt his coaching or his communication ability. So you're just hoping it can pop in year one. And even if it's 6-6 next year, I don't think you hit. Now, granted, it's got to be different than last year where you're getting your heart ripped out of your chest every week, all the time. You got to close. Got to close some games clearly to get to 6-6. But even if they're not 7 or not at 8 wins or not competing for the West in November, that would suck if you're a Nebraska fan for a 6th straight year. Totally get it. But it's not to the point where you're going to dynamite the whole thing. I don't think. If they're right there, give the staff a second year together. Don't make the same mistake you made in 2003 where you blew things up with a really good staff that was retooled by Frank. And, you know, you kind of always wonder, you never know what 2004 could have been in Nebraska with the players coming back and not having to change systems. You don't want to roll the dice and crap out that way by pulling the trigger with the head man and the guys he's assembled. You need more than a year in most instances. So we'll see. Trev's shown a lot of patience. He's done that with Frost, obviously. He's done that with Hoiberg. And the early returns on the patience 2-0 in basketball. And you've knocked it out of the park on paper, at least portal-wise, with your recruiting. You've got 2 guys that are going to make the rest of the place go nuts. You have 3 guys, really. And Applewhite, in Joseph, and, of course, in Bill Bush, that are going to just be animals on the recruiting trail. And that is going to rise the level of the rest of the staff, in my humble opinion, to keep up. So they're not left behind. So they're pulling their own weight. We'll wind down this first hour. We are here at Papio South ahead of the district final, the A7 final. Pius on the road tonight for a chance to go back to PBA next week. The Pius boys and Coach Spitzka. Titans, a really good ball club as well. Andy Markowski's on the way next hour. Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio Road Show. We're streaming live. You can check us out on the ESPN Lincoln Twitter feed. Also on the ESPN Lincoln Facebook. Interviews, always find them ESPNLincoln.com. As real easy to go to the on-demand section for the podcasts and subscribe to Hail Varsity Radio. Take the podcast with and listen to us when you want, when you can. Anytime on your time, good, bad, or ugly, give us a review. We'll happily listen and take that. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and again, ESPN Lincoln Twitter at Hail Varsity, Twitter at Herbal Essence for Elijah, at Schmidt_radio. Reminder to buckle up. Game preparation and repetition predict success and winning. Drivers and vehicle passengers who always use their seatbelts will increase their survival chances if a crash should happen. Remember to always buckle up. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Elijah, how many games are you doing, man? Any idea for the umpire schedule for you?
The first 3 weeks, I want to say, 2.5 to 3 weeks of the season are scheduled out now, and I'm already sitting at like 7 games for the first 2 weeks. So Nothing too bad there. We're going to be seeing what this summer is going to be looking like. Might be fewer games for the taking this summer. However, we're only down to 42, I think, umpires in our association. We have all of Lincoln in the spring, plus some schools around, including Waverly, York. We have Malcolm, a lot of schools in the area. So we'll see. There should be a lot of games this spring. We'll see what's coming up this summer, but I'm looking forward to getting out there, getting out in the fields, calling your son out a few times. Should be a good summer.
Well, baseball tryouts are ongoing with Southwest. Today is round one of cuts. I will let you know tomorrow if you have that opportunity or not. We will see if all the time in the cage is paid off. If not, do better. Get better. So what's the best insult/heckle you've heard as an umpire?
That's a good question. See, for the most part, I think I've gone over this before. I like getting heckled out there as an umpire just a little bit. There's within reason, like nothing too personal. Don't.
You've got to get annoyed though if somebody's had 17 Yeti cups full of special lemonade, and it's early on, and they've been priming for a while, and borderline ball crosses the dish on the black. You punch them out. And they start questioning you. How's your pain tolerance with that?
See, I take it as like, I am out here trying to do my best, trying to be my best. So usually I take it as
you don't wear those big Oakleys to hide your tears.
No, I just if it's like a parent heckling, like they got something to say, I'm like, well, I know that was a strike. So it's like it's the mental middle finger, of just being like, I'm just not even going to give them the time of day. With players, sometimes they can get a little bit frustrated. It's shocking, but usually you get more problems with players in like that 10 and 12-year-old region, especially with parents too. That's no fun to umpire those kids because like they pay you less. It's usually like whenever I'm out there, it's usually like an 8-hour day where I have like 6 10-year-old games, and then the parents and players are the worst. You get up to high school level, and usually it's a little more understanding all around.
I hope there's not been the 8-year-old took the end of the bat and drew where the pitch crossed outside corner beyond, and he just took the end of the bat and drew the line blue. That's where that came by, and there's Elijah tossing an 8-year-old. All right, hour 2 on the way. Hail Varsity Roadshow Wednesday at Papio South. Pius and Titans coming up. Andy Markowski's next.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's hour 2, Hail Varsity Radio on the road. A Wednesday road show at Pavilion La Vista South ahead of the A7 Boys District Final. Pius and Papio South hosting. We'll dive into some basketball with the Pride of Ord. We welcome in Husker standout assistant for the Pius girls, Andy Markowski, with us at Markowski_Andy on Twitter. Andy, did you get some golf in today, man? How are you?
No, I didn't. I've been recovering from a busy week of basketball and getting ready to head to Indianapolis tomorrow.
I thought you'd be heading to Indy. Let's start there. First and foremost, congratulations to Alexis for her award, Freshman of the Year. Andy, I'm sure you and the family have got to be absolutely thrilled with that. Can you kind of share your reaction, her reaction, just the moment you guys had when she heard?
Yeah, we were super excited for her. It was one of those awards where you felt, there's enough data through the year with her winning several, Big Ten Freshman of the Week that you're like, surely, that would correlate to winning the Freshman Player of the Year. But you just, you don't know. And when it was announced, we caught word a little before the announcement, just because Alexis had some additional interview responsibilities and some of that they were setting up. But super proud of her. It's a team award. I think the fact that she was able to play one-on-one in the post this season is a credit to the guards and the ability of players like Jazz Shelley and Sam Hybe to get her some opportunities off of their penetration. So, Alexis has had a great year, but they've had a better year as a team, and I'm excited to see how they're going to finish the year out.
Andy Markowski is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Andy, you played Division I. You were a two-time captain. You were on tournament teams. Can you put into words what her jump has been like? Great player in high school, incredible, Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, the best in a long time in Nebraska for girls basketball. But to jump and dominate like she has, incredible. And you know how tough that jump is. Was that a conversation you had with her going in to this year? Just the level, the step up that was going to be needed. We know she's worked on her game and she's been incredible. But man, for her to do it as consistently as she's done, super impressive.
Yeah, we knew going in. I thought, strength is usually the area that if you can't play as a freshman, it comes down to a lot of times just lack of strength, right? Inability to play in traffic or get a rebound or be able to defend. And, I thought she was going to be, strong enough and play hard enough to have some sort of an impact, whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. You just didn't know. Her ability to continue to grow as an offensive player in Coach Williams' system and finding, new ways to score. She's, put it on the floor. She's, obviously stepping out and shooting the basketball at a consistent enough clip where teams are having to guard her in the scatter report. So those are the things that, I've been pleasantly surprised with, but she's also worked really hard at it. I mean, since June, she's been in basketball first. It's really the first time in her life that she's given all her time and energy to one sport, whereas, she was a volleyball and basketball player in high school and spent a lot of time in the club volleyball and some of those other things to make sure she's a well-rounded athlete. But, and then she, really committed to getting in better shape, to being able to play longer stretches of minutes, to be able to go out and hedge ball screens. I don't know if people notice, but the recipe on Alexis right now is they're trying to put her in a ton of ball screens to try to get her to foul, to let guards attack her. And she's doing a much better job of hedging and recovering and doing some of that stuff out at 22 feet, which, obviously we didn't ask her to do that in high school, nor did she want to get in the stance and chase people around in high school. She just was able to kind of camp inside. So she's improved in all those areas, but I don't think it was one moment. I think she's just week to week and month to month has continued to put the work in, and her confidence level is up, which I think has allowed her to translate that into games.
Andy, yeah, Alex has been incredible this year, but really, when you look at the Nebraska basketball team as a whole, it was younger than I thought whenever I saw Senior Day. Like, a lot of the contributors for this team still have another year or two left of eligibility. So I want to ask, as we move into the Big Ten tournament here, what's the mentality of this team? Is it let's get some experience, let's get tournament experience ahead of the NCAA tournament, or is it a year where they're trying to go win it all now?
Well, I like the leadership they have in the locker room, and I think they're the years that are listed, in the media guide is a little off because of COVID, right? I mean, they all kind of got that extra year back, so they're probably more experienced than born as a junior instead of a sophomore, but so this is her third year, so I think they have the nucleus where their expectation isn't just to go to Indy and hopefully win a game or, try to win 2 games. I do think they feel like they can make a run. You got to get a little lucky and not getting a first-round bye. It will certainly hurt their chances as you get into day 3 and hopefully day 4. But, this is a group that expects to win. They got off to a 13-0 start. They hit a little bit of lull with a slow start to the conference season, but then you managed to win 11 conference games against, a really good top end of the Big Ten. I mean, four teams are targeted to be in the top 16 and host NCAA tournament first and second round side. So based on my messaging from her messaging to me is, their plan is to win. And I know my daughter, she wants to win a national title. I mean, I know that's crazy, but she believes that is something she wants to do, and hopefully they can make a big step this year to get to the tournament, maybe win a game, try to get to the the second weekend to start to recruit better and build momentum to maybe make that a realistic goal down the road.
Andy Markowski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Thoughts on Husker women's basketball and Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Alexis Markowski. Andy, going to switch gears to Nebraska men's basketball, and we haven't talked since Trev went on his monthly radio show, and Fred's back for a fourth year. Has that played into Nebraska's sudden resurgence, in your opinion?
Well, you just never know. I got to believe it allowed everybody to kind of exhale, take a deep breath, know that, Coach Hoiberg is their coach. They're not really playing for, his job. I certainly think it puts you in a better frame of mind. When your mind's clear, I think you can compete at a higher level. And, the other thing is that the shots are starting to fall and, their confidence level is up. So I think it's kind of a combination of all that, Chris. But, I credit Trev, whether or not you agree with it or not, for him to have the ability to put a plan together, to execute on that plan, to get Coach Hoiberg, agreeing to that plan, has stabilized the end of this season where I think there would have been a lot of negativity and questions. It allowed them to kind of hit reset. And certainly going on the road and winning 2 games is a credit to the staff and the players, because I don't think anybody we all thought they could be competitive the last 6 games based on the competition, but I don't think anybody had them winning, back-to-back road games, especially against the top 25 team in Ohio State.
Break out your crystal ball, Andy. What do you let's talk about that plan that Fred had for Trev, right? What are the cliff notes? What do the cliff notes have to be to see that fourth year? And Trev's obviously being patient. There's also the financial elephant, even though things were restructured. What do you think's a part of Trev's, I should say, Fred's fourth year and beyond as he hopes?
Well, you don't know all the dynamics that went into play. Certainly some of the things I look for is just accountability to effort, accountability to shot selection and playing with a purpose. And, this team didn't do that, right, for a lot of the season. And it appears now that, Fred's, we've all seen players kind of get a hook for a bad decision or a bad shot, where early in the season, you just kind of ask yourself, like, how could you live with that? I mean, where is the accountability? And I think the bench is always, a powerful motivator. So I've seen, progress in those areas. So as an AD, I don't know where the miscommunication was with his team early in the year, or why he couldn't get him to kind of buy into the best strategy to have more team success. I think it starts there. And then, B, I think it starts with a better recruiting plan. He has some more high school kids coming in next year. You hopefully the roster doesn't turn over, so maybe Fred had to, maybe he has a better idea of who's going to be back and who isn't, where he was able to kind of convey that on the pieces that he could build around going forward. So, I think the money factored into it. Chris, I think Trev was creative on how to, kind of hedge that and get another year. But I don't think Trev would have done that if Fred didn't have a pretty, concrete plan on the areas that he had to improve for this program to be more competitive in the tough Big Ten Conference.
Andy Markowski is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Andy, as you see how this team has started to gel at the end of the year, how do you think Fred should ride that line between A, wanting to get more talent into this program, but B, also trying to keep a core together of guys that can gel further in a second or a third year together? Because I think we've seen that the roster management, the roster setup of this team this year wasn't ideal for a Big Ten conference. So there's going to need to be new guys in the mix, but you also can't turn over for another year, can you?
Yeah, I think anytime you turn over your program, you set it back. You need leadership, you need continuity. You have to get your system in place. That's just not on the court, right? It's expectations in the off season and the work ethic and the weights and nutrition and all the things that the great programs have. But that being said, if you have kids that don't want to be here, or they're disruptive, or they're here for the selfish reasons versus putting that in on your chest first for the team, I think you got to move on from those players as well. They could be cancerous to your program and the growth of young kids. So I think that's a delicate balance. You have to recruit the right kid from the start so you don't have that disruption. I think you're always going to have a kid leave, or a kid that wants to pursue more minutes, or just can't find his way in a rotation for whatever reason. You're going to have that, but if you're bringing in 5, 6, 7 kids every year, you're never going to have the continuity you need to compete in the Big Ten.
Andy Markowski's with us. Andy, couple of minutes here, and we'll get you out, man, and have fun in Indy and cheer hard. You've been a part of a team that's gotten hot. What's Nebraska's ceiling with getting hot? They've got 2 in a row. Wisconsin looms. They're co-champs. They want to finish off, obviously, the right way, but then you have the Big Ten tournament looming. Could Nebraska scare/surprise some more teams here before the season's done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy enough to think that they can go on on a huge run, but certainly momentum this time. There's ebbs and flows to the season. You see teams that go on a lull, and I think Ohio State is in that right now. Just not playing that well, and Nebraska caught them, at a good time. You're catching Wisconsin at a great time too, right? I mean, you saw that game last night. They clinched the league. There's court storming. It's going to get be hard to kind of reel that group back in and get them focused for a Nebraska team that frankly hasn't been very good. So you catch them at the right time. Then the Big Ten tournament comes down to some matchups and can you make shots? But in the end, the reason why the Big Ten tournament sets up the way it does with the top teams getting a double bye is the longer you play, the more rest that teams have becomes an advantage, right? And to try to win, day one is going to be a challenge. Winning day 2, and then by day 3, you're playing a team that has yet to play. It becomes harder and harder. And Nebraska is not super deep, but I'll give them credit. I do think they're catching Wisconsin at a good time from a focus standpoint, and I think they can go on the road and certainly keep that game more competitive than what people might think.
Coaching carousel question: Rick Pitino to Maryland. How does that grab you?
Nothing surprises me anymore. I mean, it pains me to see guys that have cheated and have done things the wrong way. But winning, trumps everything. Maryland fired a really good guy and a good coach in Turgeon because he didn't win enough, even though they won the league 3 years ago. So, when you put winning first, you're going to go after a coach that has a great winning track record, and certainly Rick Pitino, has that at multiple schools and multiple levels. So, quite a personality to add at the Big Ten, which is pretty stoic in terms of Izzo and, Greg Gard and Matt Painter. And you start thinking about the coaches, and then you add that personality in the league, it could create some fireworks.
Well, and imagine the handshake line if Jawan and Pitino were mad at each other. I mean,
it certainly it adds some personality to a great basketball conference, right? I mean, I tell people that all the time. And, the Big 12 is a good league that has good teams and teams that can win in the tournament. The Big Ten is just a grinded out league that's from the middle to the back end is always very well supported, very well coached, and it's just a hard league to win in.
Eddie, enjoy Indy. Best to you guys. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, fellas.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Hail Varsity Radio on the road here at Papio South as The old clock is ticking down, about an hour and a half from the start of the A7 final. And see who heads to PBA for Boys State in Class A. We say hi to Hall of Fame coach and assistant. He'll be on the call with me here shortly here at Papio South for Pius and the Titans. Jeff Smith is with us. Coach Smith, I asked Andy Markowski, a player of yours at Nebraska, if he got out and enjoyed the weather. I'm going to ask the same question to you. Did you find a place that would let you tee off today?
You know the answer to that, Chris. I, of course, did. I went to the last 2 mornings. I slipped over to Holmes Golf Course, about 8:30 tee off. Played 9 holes, walked 9 holes, got a little exercise, and it was good. It was good. This weather's unbelievable.
I am jealous. Not that I'm not happy to be in the gym, but it was really sunny and awesome driving up. I can only imagine what it felt like outdoors. Good for you. So, Coach, I got to start with some Nebraska basketball before we get to the high school setup here for Boys State in the district finals. I was asking Andy about getting hot and what kind of run can Nebraska stay on with one regular season game left and then the Big Ten tournament. What did last night say to you about Nebraska basketball? Can you take too much out of 2 games in a row? Or, hey, at this point in the year after the season they've had, is it okay to go, hey, man, maybe things are looking up for the program?
Yeah, I felt like it was a good message that they definitely haven't quit. There's some character there that's coming out. There's a little pride there. It feels like somebody lit a fire under them a little bit. There's just the little things seem to be met. They're boxing out a little better. It seems like Alonzo's playing a little more pure point and distributing the ball better. They're valuing the ball. They only had 4 turnovers last night, which is amazing. Now, I think they caught Penn State and Ohio State on pretty good nights with some injuries and things, but still, they're doing it on the floor. I think there's about 3 or 4 guys that are confident right now, and when that many guys are shooting the ball well, that makes a difference with your defense, your bench, everything, so the confidence level goes up. So I think a combination of all those things is a factor. It's nice to see. I know we all wish it would have happened earlier, 3 months ago, but it didn't. And we'll see how far this how far they can go in this heater that they're in right now.
As a coach, can you sense you guys are about ready to go on a heater?
Yeah, you can. You can start seeing in practice. The other thing I think is they're down to kind of an 8-man rotation, and I don't think they're pulling guys. I think Andy said that too. I don't think the guys are looking over their shoulder quite as much. They've got a good rotation going right now with some really good bench play with their 3 guys they're playing off the bench. Wilcher's playing fantastic. Eduardo's giving them some things. Webster's giving them some things. And I think they're just getting a few more minutes, not distributing the time as much with some of the other guys, and that can get you in a little better rhythm and with that confidence that you're not going to get pulled. They've finally learned shot selection, it looks like, at least to a little better level. All that adds up to a difference. But as a coach, you always hope, your main hope is going into the tournaments that you are playing your best basketball and you are on one of those streaks that Nebraska seems to be on. If that can last into the Big Ten tournament, I don't know. Wisconsin will be a challenge, but you can kind of sense it as a coach. You can feel it with the team. I had an old doctor friend that said your biorhythms are up and measured those, and who knows. But they've got some guys playing confident and multiple guys, not just 1 or 2.
Coach Jeff Smith with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Coach, we saw at the end of last season, Nebraska kind of got a little bit hot is a good way to put it. They were playing their best basketball at the end of last season, but then a lot of roster turnover in the offseason, a really different-looking team this year. And it really feels like they've needed a few months to get their feet underneath them. Do you think that this late-season momentum we're seeing could mean good things for next season, just with the how much this core has been able to play together this year?
Yeah, good question. The one that scares me, though, is it looks like Alonzo's finally really grasping the point guard position, having never played it much in his life and always being a scorer. But now we got to retrain a starting point guard next year. That's going to be a challenge. To me, that's the most important position on the floor like your quarterback, and then, of course, you're big that can control the paint a little bit and rebound the ball and play defense inside. So, if Mr. Walker would come back, and I still think Trey McGowan can be a combo guard. There's times when he plays a little bit of point, he looks pretty good, and then they've got McPherson sitting out and another recruit. So I hope they don't have to start over too much. It just seems like, last year, they, like you said, they had that Mo going, and then just too much turnover, and it took them too long to find it. So I hope they can get a little continuity. The older guys are playing better right now. I think Lat Mayans played as good as he's ever played at Nebraska. And, so maybe he can come back. I don't know. But hopefully we'll get some continuity.
Jeff Smith's with us, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Wednesday here at Papio South, ahead of Papio South and Pius. Coach, I want to go back to the Big 8 tournament run in '94. And what do you remember about that experience? I remember watching the games out on my deck as a junior high kid going, this would have been the year to listen to Danny to buy Big 8 tournament tickets down at Kemper. We went in '92. But what was that experience like for you and the squad? I mean, Nebraska fans still smile about it.
Yeah, we that was a situation where you asked if you knew you were playing pretty well. We were pretty confident going to that tournament. I think our biggest fear was we hadn't had a lot of success down there in Kansas City. So getting by that first one, we felt like if we could just, and I've said that all along, tournaments sometimes the first is the hardest one to win. Get by that first one. We were very confident going into the semis. We played well against those teams. And so, not only did we feel like we were playing well, we felt like if we got that first one, the players were going to realize how good we really were. Our roles were defined awfully well at that time, and it was just a really, really good team effort that we had a lot of guys playing well, kind of like Nebraska has the last 3 games.
Well, you got a little payback with Missouri, too, down in Kemper. That was pretty good.
Yeah, and we were very much looking forward to play them, and the old Danny Norm rivalry was, but we felt like we owed them, so I thought we had a pretty good psychological edge going into that game.
Coach, let's switch gears to the districts here, and we'll get your take here on some of the Lincoln area teams. Of course, Southwest at Gretna. A thought on that matchup. Gretna's played Alabama's SEC West schedule this year and done pretty well. I kind of kid, but that's going to be contested just down the highway from here. And then also comment here, we've seen Pius quite a bit as well, but Papio South, man, they've got some impressive wins this year as well.
Yeah, Gretna Southwest. Gretna beat Southwest at Southwest by 5 during the regular season in overtime. I think they're very even teams. I think Southwest is playing really well down the stretch here. They've got a couple freshmen that are contributing a little more than they did at the start of the year. And Hunzeker, I think, will be the difference in that game. So I'm going to take Southwest just by a couple, even though they're on the road at Gretna. Gretna's a younger team, district championship, just not positive how they're going to respond. Very well coached, both teams are. That'll be a great game. I think in the game we're going to cover, Papio South shoots the ball extremely well, and they're going to have to, I think, against Pius's. Again, Pius has the length advantage. I think Pius's starters are maybe better overall than Papio South, and Papio South's bench might be a little better. So it might come down to, fouls and bench contributions. Pius and Papio South play a very similar style. They won't press each other too much. They're going to play solid man-to-man. Both teams shoot it pretty good. If Pius can score around the basket a little more than Papio South can and limit their threes, I think Pius can win this game as well. And that 7-8, really they're the 7-8 seeds. Hopefully one of them will get a wild card. You never know what's going to, if Southwest upsets Gretna, they won't. But that's always a really close, that 7-8 seed is always a really close contest, and I think we're going to see a really good one tonight.
Northeast is at Prep as well, and Northeast has played Prep well at in their gym. And, of course, East, Sparty always has a little magic. I'll just say that, and they're at Westside tonight.
Yeah, they have not played, which is an advantage for East, and we know East is just so scrappy. I'm not counting them out. I think Westside is a really good team, but I think East actually matches up to them pretty well. Northeast lost to Prep by 6 at Northeast, so now they're going up there. Prep's been kind of an up and down team. They'll beat a really good team, and then they'll kind of lay an egg. And I think Northeast and East are very similar, that they're tough outs. I think they have a lot of good basketball players, and they play really hard. So I think both of those schools are going to be teams are going to be a tough out. Westside probably has a little better advantage over East than Prep over Northeast, but it wouldn't surprise me that Northeast can pull that one off either.
So, did you hear Chucky call bank last night for the win?
You know, they hit those 2 banks. I got beaten at 2000 district. We got beat on 2 banked-in threes. So it was like deja vu. I can just feel Coach Painter. I could feel Coach Painter's pain. That's tough because those aren't very good shots if they're banking in shots they don't intend to. But Chucky's kind of that kind of guy. He'll just somehow make a play and fantastic for him, and that'll be fun to go watch Nebraska play up there against Chucky and see if they can take that elusive title away from him, maybe, or at least share it.
Jeff Smith with us, Hail Varsity Radio Hall of Fame coach for Southeast and longtime assistant with Nebraska basketball, and Coach Danny Nee. Coach, safe travels up here. We'll see you in a little bit for tip-off with Papio South Pius, all right?
Yeah, I'll hit the road. Be there in about 50 minutes.
Sounds good, Coach. Take care. Appreciate you.
See ya.
There he is, Jeff Smith. Got some golf in, got some basketball in. Good day for Coach Smith, and excited to have him tonight. And, of course, plenty of state coverage, girls and boys, next week with ESPN Lincoln locally. And, of course, KFOR, our sister station, and our affiliates do an amazing job as well with their area team coverage. Doug Duda and company out at ESPN Superstation in central Nebraska, and of course Gus and the crew with News Talk 900 in Columbus. Man, fired up for March. By the way, 15 home baseball games this month as well. So a lot to do. We'll do a Jock Doc on the way. Some thoughts as well with the NFL Combine looming here tomorrow and through the weekend. Time for some Huskers to stand out. They might just do it. Hail Varsity continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Time for a Jock Doc Wednesday. Nebraska Orthopedic Center. Dr. Ben Woodhead with us. Dr. Ben, you dust the clubs off, bud. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. My clubs are still dusty, but I'm getting close.
Well, today we need to dust them off and go putt, man. But NFL on our mind, Dr. Ben, and you've got a couple of quarterbacks. What a run San Francisco made this year, and Dallas better than past years. Both quarterbacks under the knife here this offseason. Let's start with Jimmy G. And we know he sprained that throwing shoulder during the postseason, and he had an intervention done here, nothing specific. But as you look at Jimmy G and that shoulder issue, what are some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends on what was actually done. There's a lot of things that can go on in a throwing shoulder. You know, you got the bumper around the shoulder, which is kind of the labrum that keeps it stable. That can be torn. Some of these quarterbacks can get rotator cuff issues. And, you know, then sometimes you can just have some kind of loose bodies or some cartilage defects that may be occurring. And so depending on what actually went on will kind of depend on how he recovers. Best case scenario, though, you know, they go in there and kind of clean things up and gradually let him get back from a rehab standpoint.
Well, you look at the interest that Jimmy G has out there on the trade market, and his problem hasn't been production per se. It's been availability with Shanahan. And this, just kind of reading between the lines, this can't be too serious of a shoulder issue if it's not scaring anybody off on the trade market.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it is some like a mild type of scenario, his rehab prognosis and the outlook should be fantastic. Where you start getting into bigger issues, if you have a bigger repair and a throwing shoulder and a quarterback, they can lose motion. There can be longer term outcomes that can be problematic, but it doesn't sound like that's the case for him.
We're checking in with Dr. Ben Woodhead, Nebraska Orthopedic Center. A Jock Doc Wednesday on Hail Varsity. Quarterbacks always, are they more prevalent among the shoulder surgery list? Is that a position group from a sport that you see more times than not? Do you see a lot of quarterback shoulder issues?
Well, you obviously do in the throwing shoulder type of player, so when you're looking at baseball players or overhead athletes or even quarterbacks, they're putting so much stress and strain onto that throwing shoulder that they certainly get more kind of pathologic processes as opposed to, a lineman or a running back where they're not using the shoulder as much. And quite frankly, their career doesn't depend on the shoulder as much. And so you certainly can have, more complex issues in a throwing athlete.
Let's talk Dak Prescott, and we look at Dak, and he had off-season shoulder surgery as well, Dr. Ben, and interested to get your thought here on what is just some routine cleanup here for Dak.
Yeah, for Dak, I think it's a little bit at least better prognosis. It's his non-throwing shoulder, it sounds like, and cleanup procedure generally is simple terms for has some stuff going on there that may be causing some irritation that you kind of go in there and clean up and basically get rid of and take out of the shoulder, hopefully in the event that he'll just gradually return to all activity. A lot of times for those cleanup procedures, really they're in the sling for comfort, for a week or 2 weeks, and then gradually starting to resume to life.
With the rehab process, you mentioned the timeline. How tender is the shoulder? And I know we're kind of talking different spectrums of Jimmy G versus Dak, but just overall, is the shoulder recovery, is that a pretty tender region compared to other parts of the body?
It certainly can be, depending on the actual procedure that's done. But if Dak truly had a cleanup procedure, you usually have a couple separate incisions where you're putting the scope or the camera in to look, and then another incision where you're sticking your instruments in to try and either take out what has been bothering him or clean it up. You're really relying on those few incisions to heal. And if you're not relying on any type of repair, that's really what the pain is the incisions from the poke holes. And so it's actually best case scenario for him.
Dr. Ben Woodhead's with us at Jock Doc Wednesday, Nebraska Orthopedic Center here on Hail Varsity Radio. Some quarterback news in this offseason. Jimmy G and Dak both going and having surgeries done, one cleanup, one a little bit more severe. But Jimmy G getting that sprained throwing shoulder fixed up. So as we talk quarterbacks and we know how important that position is, I'm interested to get your thoughts here on just where, from a mentality standpoint, is that a hurdle for a lot of quarterbacks? I know there's been quarterbacks in the past that have had labrum issues, and that's major, right? And then you have sprains that are no walk in the park, and then you've just got some potential scar tissue in other instances. But overall, the quarterback position, do you see guys that, from a mental toughness standpoint, they're able to bounce back pretty well?
Absolutely, and it's a spectrum, right? Like we talked about Dak, it's his non-throwing shoulder. His limitations long-term are going to be very minimal. But then you start talking about Jimmy G and those quarterbacks that have a throwing shoulder injury. That is a little more cumbersome in terms of the mental capacity, because they got to get back to the throwing motion. They got to get their motion back. As they cock back, they can be a little stiff, and so is their velocity going to be affected. So it certainly is some hurdles getting over, especially when it's the throwing shoulder.
How do you get that flexibility back even as you get older? That's my question. The king of pliability has been Tom Brady, and I don't know that he's ever had shoulder issues or elbow issues. It's mainly, I think, his injury being the knee when he was earlier in his career. But are there drills, exercises? What can be done for a Jimmy G who's in his later 20s to get back to that old form, that old motion?
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest difficulties after having surgery is stiffness, right? And so getting that motion back is one of the main things that the therapists work on. And so he will be doing therapy a couple times a week, probably up 3 to 4 times a week, honestly. Once he is getting the green light in terms of getting his motion back, they are going to push, because you can't do any strengthening. You really can't do any high velocity throwing until he gets all his motion back. So that'll be step one before he goes on beyond any type of throwing program.
Well, last thought here on Jimmy G, Jock Doc Wednesday, Nebraska Orthopedic Center. Dr. Ben Woodhead with us. The estimates here for Jimmy G is to resume throwing prior to July 4th. Now, we just hit March. That's not that far away, though, to look at July. Doing the math here, it doesn't, again, seem too severe with what's going on.
No, absolutely. Because like you were talking about, if you have a big labral surgery or anything more dependent on a repair, it certainly can last longer than that 4 to 5 month time frame. So, at least from the sounds, but hopefully it's kind of best case scenario, cleanup type versus kind of minor repairs, and then gradually let him get back.
Dr. Ben, it was fun to chat with you. We'll do this again. Thanks for a few minutes.
Hey, no problem, Chris. Thanks.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Roadshow Wednesday here at Papio South. Pius Papio South set to go for the A7 final as Jeff Smith en route, Chris Schmidt, and we'll have it for you here locally on ESPN Lincoln. Stream at ESPNLincoln.com. Motzi will have Prep and Northeast over on KFOR, so get your high school basketball fix ahead of state tournament action next week. Do so. Can send emails, Chris at HailVarsity.com. Give us a follow on Twitter at Schmidt_radio for Chris Schmidt and at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. And winding down, good stuff in the on-demand portion of the website, ESPNLincoln.com. Be sure to check the on-demand interviews out. Great stuff from Andy Markowski earlier on Alexis Markowski's freshman season, the awards, and then he's packing up for Indy, man. So good for him, and he'll go cheer on Coach Williams and her squad, and then be right back at PBA for Pius girls. Really exceptional run for the high school girls teams for the capital city with what Coach Barrett in Southwest did. Pius, of course, back in state tournament action. And Lincoln High, Coach Dominique has been just amazing at Lincoln High and their season. So a full slate. Big Ten action is ongoing. Should be pretty interesting as things wind down. And Elijah, are you going to be a guy that takes some points for Nebraska Sunday against Wisconsin, whatever those end up being, or do you think the magic's done with Husker basketball?
See, the question to me is not this Husker basketball team. I think they have found their stride. I think the bigger question for the game Sunday is what's Wisconsin's motivation level? I mean, they already had a big celebration despite the fact they haven't locked up sole possession of first place in the Big Ten. They are still... there's a good chance they just be co-champions if they fall on Sunday to Nebraska. So my question is, what's their motivation level? Are they overlooking this game, getting themselves ready for the Big Ten tournament so they can be regular season and tournament champions? Or are they locking in on this one so they can be the sole winners of the regular season Big Ten? That's the question to me. It's not so much Nebraska. It's more what's Wisconsin's motivation level here. Because I think this Nebraska team, as we've seen in the past couple weeks, they're starting to gel. They're starting to figure some things out. They have confidence, and that's so huge. It's never once really looked like this Husker team had confidence up until the past week and a half. So I'm not too worried about this Husker basketball team putting up a good fight. It's just, I think we know that this Wisconsin team is better than Nebraska's. What's their motivation level to come out and play on Sunday afternoon?
No, exactly right. Fair point. Great question. And we'll see how things progress for Nebraska baseball as they head down to Texas, of course, and shifting the starting pitching rotation just a bit. So good for Frank. He'll be Friday, and they'll move KP to Saturday. We'll see how that rolls. And, of course, more spring football tomorrow on the show. Gary Barnett will be back with us. We'll talk barbecue and football with Coach Barney. Parker Gabriel, as Parker joins us, Brandon Vogel, Danny Burke with Burke's Best Bets. Enjoy your high school hoops tonight. And thanks for tuning in to Hail Varsity, the Road Show Wednesday. Back at you tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.